Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for another edition of Wound Care. For those of you uninitiated, I had a terrible infection. Doctor had to cut it out of me. Now I have a wound and it needs to be cared for. So it requires a wet to dry bandage. Which will of course dry to my skin and take the injury away with it when it does. But that wet to dry bandage requires 10 minutes of soaking, sometimes with or sometimes without iodine, although I'm using the iodine because it's cleaner. And this solution here, and because I am a diabetic, I will be doing the very diabetic thing of taking my blood sugar and my insulin in order to eat up time while I'm doing this. Okay. So today we're going to talk about the fact that my job is unstable. There goes that. This goes in here. And yeah, this is a sharps container, by the way. Put all the things that need to be removed. So today I wrote something called a I wrote something called a deposition that will be reviewed by legal department for accuracy. This is a lancet, for those of you that don't know. It is for piercing my skin in order to draw a drop of blood to be tested for sugar. So I wrote a deposition, and this deposition has the potential to save or lose me my job by the discretion of a judge. And judges are human. They make mistakes. And I can't go into the details. It's a confidential matter. But, you know, I could, through no fault of my own, lose my job. You know. Who knows what the judge might be thinking? You know, I mean, it's not likely, but it's a non-zero chance. This is a test strip. And my neighbors are talking. Okay. So yeah. Blood monitor is showing a little blinking drop. There's the test strip on top, so it tells you it's ready for blood. Little vampire. But you know, I'm a security officer. And the job of a security officer is never a very stable thing. My last job, I actually seem to have lost it more than once. And, you know, I didn't do anything wrong. Well, I did one thing wrong, and that's not why I lost my job. Come on. I don't think that's enough blood. Yep, wasn't enough blood. You can't reuse lancets, and you can't reuse strips. So, Gonna try that again. I mean, my blood sugar should be in dangerous levels at the moment because I've just eaten. So, I mean, I really don't need to check it right now. I need to check it after I sleep, but it's good to check it, see what's going on. That's a lot more blood. Let's see if that works. $224. Okay. So that's not as high as I expected it to be. It is reasonably high, but not as high as I expected it to be. Okay. There we go. You know, it's like making these videos. I do this in the hope that at some point YouTube will begin to supplement or replace my income. Because no matter what job I get, the job I get seems to be unstable. It's very common in security. Just one of those things, you know, it's like my last job. I was well liked, I worked well. The company decided they wanted me somewhere else. And when I wouldn't go to that somewhere else, they removed me. They paid for it in the end. Not that that did anything for me, but they definitely paid for it in the end. Job before that, same thing. That's just one of those things. Like, jobs in general aren't as stable as they used to be. This one never has the same level of force. Alright. But yeah, you know, this has to stay in for 10 seconds. Or else the tissue may reject the insulin. It has to be injected into fat. Which, of course, I have an ample supply of, but it's one thing about insulin. What do you do when your job's unstable, when you think you're going to lose your job? One thing you do is you look for another one. My experience, however, is that I won't find a better job, I'll just find another job. And if I go out there looking for another job, people may be like, well, I mean, you know, you didn't accept our job before. Why would you accept it a second time? So yeah, never apply for a job you're not willing to accept. You know, it's just one of those, because it deletes an option you may need in the future. I mean, it's just one of those things. I remember I applied for a company and they were going to pay me something like 25 cents more an hour. And I was like, 25 cents more an hour? It's not worth it. It's further away from home. Then I started really having trouble with the job I had. And I applied for them a second time. And they were like, you know what, dude? You didn't accept the job the first time. Why should we go through that again? And they had a point. Well, they didn't exactly say that. They just didn't call me for the next interview. I understand. But, you know, that's the thing when your job's unstable. You live life with a gun barrel to your head, wondering what to do. Yeah, I do that a lot. It's kind of the life I live. And I don't know. I don't know what to do. Okay, stop. I can tell you that the company is fighting for me. Normally they're fighting against me. So at least I have that. And I mean, right now, it doesn't look like a bad thing, but it's also entirely possible that in 6 months I could have fulfilled the purpose of my job and they could decide they just don't need me anymore. And this is not a charity, it's a job. Now this is going to be a huge bandage. I'm not supposed to leave the house with it. So it's just going to be big. I don't really have anything to cut this bandage material. Anyway, I don't know what to do. It's one of those things is that, yeah, it's a tough situation and it's going to be a tough situation. Life is full of them. You know, I can tell you right now, there's a friend of mine that doesn't have, well, there's a person I know, I don't know if I called him a friend, doesn't have electricity. Doesn't have water. Then I have another friend who's living in her car. And her car broke down, so she doesn't have money for food. Life can be a real pain in the ass sometimes. I mean, me, I'm a diabetic. It's not so bad. The injections suck and I can't bring the medication to work. But it's not so bad. I would rather be in this situation than be living without electricity or without water. I'd rather live in this house without electricity or water than live in my car without either. I guess the point of this is that no matter how bad things are, there's always somebody worse off. Doesn't mean my own life doesn't suck, but at least it puts things in perspective. I'm Richard.
Background courtesy of Photographs of a Mad Richard. Link in the description.
Danger Ducky says it is now time for you to comment, like, and subscribe and support this channel so we can do things like save the world by removing trash from the ocean, planting trees, and feeding orphans. Danger Ducky approves.